Agreed to. We will now proceed to consideration of S 2272. I know we're running late on time. We're going to try to get this bill out. We will then later recess to continue bills over the next few days. But I would ask, first off, unanimous consent that the committee consider the Sinema substitute amendment as modified to S 2272 as the underlying bill. Without objection, so ordered. Senator Sinema, would you like to discuss your bill?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You know, wildland firefighters in Arizona and across our country risk their lives to keep our community safe. Until 2021, the starting salary of a federal wildland firefighter was less than $15 per hour. Obviously, this was wrong. So recognizing their sacrifice and hard work, we proposed and passed fair pay for wildland firefighters in our bipartisan infrastructure law. But now we need to make this pay permanent. If we don't, the wildland firefighters will lose up to 50% of their annual salary, which is about $20,000. The bipartisan Wildland Firefighter Paycheck Protection Act makes fair pay for wildland firefighters permanent in a fiscally responsible manner. If we don't act by the end of this fiscal year, however, agency leadership and firefighter associations have testified that we will see massive departures from the federal wildland firefighter workforce right at the peak of wildfire season. So I encourage colleagues to support this bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Sinema. Does any member wish to offer an amendment? Senator Paul.
You know, on a bill like this, I guess I would like to have people come in who represent the wildland firefighters, learn more about how many there are, when their last pay increase was, and then what the total amount sort of would be. There's no CBO score on this, and so we won't really know what we're voting on. This would be, I guess, somewhat equivalent to being in a board meeting for a hospital, and they say, well, gosh, the EMTs, they save lives, and without them, people would die, and we have 50 of them, and they just aren't paid enough. And then, but nobody would say, well, what is our allocated budget for labor, and how much they get paid now, and what does it compare to the other EMTs at the surrounding hospitals versus nationwide, and then have a debate back and forth. So we'd have a debate on the facts of whether it's an appropriate amount, how does it compare to others. We would also ask the most important question, how much money do we have? Which gets back to the question that primarily has been underlying this entire debate is, should we have to make choices? Who can be against increasing, wildland firefighter salary? Who can, why don't we, if they're only 50%, why don't we increase their salary 100%? What are the limits? Well, it's sort of like people saying, well, teachers are important. I had this debate one time with David Letterman. He's like, we should pay them $1 million. And it's like, it's that kind of empty, vacant sort of thinking that's caused us to be $31 trillion in debt. Somebody has to say how much we have, somebody has to do the comparison, and we would ideally then have people in from the agency you want to give, or workers that you want to give pay raises to, and have a discussion, and we'd ask them questions about this. We would have in opposition who would say, well, maybe we're spending too much on this, and maybe we could take it from another part of the budget in order to pay for these salaries. But we never have that. We don't have to choose, just add it on. It's like the guy at the bar tab with an unlimited credit card. Put it on my card, doesn't really matter, just charge it. And that's what we do. Not that there's anything wrong with increasing wildland. Who doesn't want to pay the wildland firefighters more, or who doesn't want to stop fires? There probably would be a discussion also, are we maintaining our forest properly? Every time I read about the fire, situation, a lot of it's nature, a lot of it's lightning, some of it's man, that we can try to stop men and women from accidentally setting fires. But then there's a question of clearing out underbrush and maintaining, doing logging in our forest. These are all these kind of debates, too, that enter into how we should be doing this, other than just saying we're going to increase the salary. So my amendment would add a 2-year sunset to this. This would be amendment number 3. And the reason for it is to then assess. And like I say, the assessment could go either way. It isn't just that we'd say, oh, in 2 years we're going to take away their pay increase. Could be in 2 years we find out their pay increase isn't enough. But ideally, the hope is that at some point when one of these sunsets comes up and there is a discussion, we would really have a discussion over, do we have enough money to do this, and how much money is involved, and we would actually have interaction with the people who you're trying to raise the salaries of.
Senator Sinema.
Thank you, Chairman Peters. I really appreciate the questions that you've asked, Senator Paul. GAO actually did publish a report answering these questions in November of 2022, so I'll get a copy of that report over to your office. There are about 18,000 wildland firefighters across the country, and we have data about the amount we're spending on them. Since we passed this pay raise in the infrastructure bill back in 2021, we've actually been using those dollars to pay firefighters since then, so we can get you the data about exactly how many firefighters there are, exactly how much we're paying them, and the impact that this pay raise has had on recruitment and retention. All of that data is available, and I'll get it over to your office. Just another note, the Senate Energy and Natural Resources Committee actually held a full hearing about this issue in June of this year. This bill is a mirror bill of this, is also co-sponsored by both the chair and the ranking member of ENR. So the other thing I'll do, Senator Paul, is get a copy of the transcript from that hearing so that you can get the answers to all those questions where actual wildland firefighters did testify in committee. And finally, if you're interested in meeting some of the amazing hotshots that protect our country during fire season, I would be more than happy to invite some of Arizona's incredibly brave wildland firefighters, we call them hotshots, to come and actually share their stories about how much they're committed to saving property and lives in Arizona and in the West, and the burden that this places on them and their families when they're not able to have even a basic salary to care for themselves and their families. And finally, I'd encourage folks to oppose Paul Amendment 3 because the 2-year sunset simply puts us right back into this very position 2 years from now, asking for this same, not pay raise, we're not asking for pay raise, we're just asking to maintain their salaries so they don't lose half of their income right as fire season is occurring. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. We're going to try to move quickly here. I understand there are no more amendments will be offered, so we're going to go quickly to a roll call so we can get to the meeting. We'll now proceed to the consideration of Paul Amendment 3 to S-2272. A roll call has been requested. Clerk will call the roll on the amendment.
Senator Carper.
No by proxy.
Senator Hassan. No. Senator Sinema.
No.
Senator Rosen.
No by proxy.
Senator Padilla. No. Senator Ossoff. No. Senator Blumenthal. No. Senator Paul. Aye. Senator Johnson.
Aye by proxy.
Senator Langford. No. Senator Romney. No. Senator Scott. Aye. Senator Hawley. No. Senator Marshall.
Aye by proxy.
Senator Peters.
No.
Mr. Chairman, on the vote of those present, the yeas are 2, the nays are 9. On the vote by proxy, the yeas are 2, the nays are 2. On this vote, the yeas are 4, the nays are 11, and the amendment is not agreed to.
Amendment's not agreed to. If there's no further debate or amendment, the question is now on final passage of Senator Scott.
I just 2 things. One, I think what Senator Paul brought up on the there's a group in Florida called Tall Timbers, and they actually do all the research. But the federal government doesn't use much of it of prescribed burn, which it does reduce the cost, which puts these firefighters at less risk. That's one thing. 2, I want to thank you and Senator Sinema for agreeing to ensure we have a CBO score before it's sent to the floor.
Thank you, Senator Scott. The question is now on final passage of S-2272. As amended, the clerk will call the roll.
Senator Carper.
Aye by proxy.
Senator Hassan. Aye. Senator Sinema.
Aye.
Senator Rosen.
Aye by proxy.
Senator Padilla. Aye. Senator Ossoff. Aye. Senator Blumenthal. Aye. Senator Paul. Yeah. Senator Johnson. Aye. Senator Langford. Aye. Senator Romney. Aye. Senator Scott. Aye. Senator Hawley. Aye. Senator Marshall.
Aye by proxy.
Senator Peters.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, on the vote of those present, the yeas are 10, the nays are 1. On the vote by proxy, and for the record only, the yeas are 4, the nays are 0. On this vote, the yeas are 10, the nays are 1, and the motion is agreed to.
Motion is agreed to. Due to the need for us to gather for the joint session of Congress, the committee will have to recess this business meeting and will resume consideration